Good afternoonish, all. This is not just for Ryder, but Ryder knows he started this. So, before I start, no, Ryder started it today, but anyway. This is my 5th generation Android phone, which means in probably about 4 or 5 years, y'all will have an Apple phone that can do that. And it'll be absolutely secure. And if that's not sufficient, Ryder was ranting on about, people were ranting on about Windows machines can't run AI models. This has a built-in MPU made by Intel. And I probably expect it'll be maybe a 6 or 7 year period before you have an Apple computer that can do this. I rest my case. Enough of the free commercial for WinTel platform. My name is Gregory. I have very limited time, so let's jump in. JP said earlier, and I'm going to co-opt his statement because I agree with it very, very strongly. We are the last generation that will remember, thank you. We are the last generation that will remember what it was like before the AI or the robots came to help. Remember that, please. That is unequivocally true. And I believe this room particularly has a very, very strong and urgent requirement to be involved in this process. I know there are other rooms, in other places where these conversations are happening, but I suggest that we have major problems we need to solve quickly from a church and faith-based organization perspective. So to kind of lay out the framework that I'm going to lay out, so that's the strategic approach for how we can do this. I'm going to break it down into a couple of 4 tactical chunks of things, that we can approach. I'll break down the problem statement very quickly, and then I'll get into, the actual things I think we should be doing and what we should be focused on. At a high level, I'll do as Dr. K did yesterday, and hopefully I get the term right. Here's the BLUFF, right. So at a high level, what I'm suggesting is we do quick execution and we do effective collaboration. There are already, I've literally been taking notes the entire yesterday and all of this morning. There are already multiple organizations and people represented here in this room today where we are working on exactly the same 2 things. I'll give you 2 examples. Well, one is a direct example, and I'm not saying this in a negative way. I'm just saying collaboration is something people of most of the personality types that are in this room are not intuitively very good at. So I'm suggesting lean into the collaboration gene a little bit more and maybe lean away from the tech genius guru type gene. I'm a tech genius guru, whatever you want to call it, as well. That's all I've done my entire life. So I'm speaking here with a lot of love, but I'm also speaking to myself when I say I would much rather be in my hotel room after the event is done and not go to dinner with anyone and sit in my shower in the fetal position with water running over me because I've been around people all day. And that's not a hygiene thing. It's not my thing. It's not my jam. I'm comfortable speaking here. Not necessarily comfortable out in the lobby, fellowshipping and hanging out. It's just not my jam, and it's probably not many of your jam. But we're going to need to figure out how to be better at that if we're going to break down some of these collaborative things. So I promised 2 examples. Example number 1, last week, I have very limited time, so don't clap. No. Last year at Missional, and thanks to mentor professors and other people who last year very sporadically said, Greg, you need to come to Missional. I was like, what's Missional? Just shut up and go. It's for you. And I went, and it was absolutely life-changing. I walked in the door, and I started texting my wife, oh, my God, these are my people. Like, literally, this is my tribe right here. I've been looking for this my entire life. So at Missional, I heard a speaker, his name was Thomas Osborne, and he very casually spoke about discipleship and using AI to power discipleship. Since then, Thomas and I, with a group of other people, Yvonne and Mike Miser and several other people, have been working on standing up an AI-powered discipleship algorithm for doing discipleship matching, because we saw that as an urgent need. So that is a real-world collaborative thing that came out of Missional last year, full stop. We're now shopping it to we're now shopping it to Dallas Theological Seminary and many other places. It's still in beta. We're still working out, architecture and some other details. But it is a result of collaboration that came out of this room. We need more of that. The little cute silos of I'm super smart and I'm gonna figure this out on my own. It works. It doesn't scale though. And we need scale to solve the problems I'm about to describe. The next thing, next example I promised, myself sitting here was inspired, literally, last year. And I was like, oh my God, some of these ideas that I have bubbling around, I probably need to do something with them. So on the back of that, I literally took a week off and I went and I developed a SaaS app that had been bubbling around in my head. It's called iScribe. It's for simple usage of AI for transcribing. In my case, the use case was transcribing sermon notes, because I go to church, and as a good nerd, I go to church with my laptop, and I'm sitting there taking notes, and it was pretty quick before I realized it's not efficient. So, it breaks down the notes, gives me discussion questions for my small group that I lead, with men on Wednesday nights. And it does all of that based on the sermon that the pastor just gave. So I developed that. It took a week, but I'm saying execute, and execute quickly. I could have, and my inclination was to sit on that idea and perfect it. I got to have exactly the right UI, and I got to have exactly the right logo. And I got to come up with exactly the right name. And something, somewhere, I'm going to blame it on the Holy Spirit, kind of motivated me and said, just release it already. Just release it already. It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be out there. And the gift that I got from releasing it at what was probably a MVP version was I got feedback from my audience. Net is today, official release was in January. We have a 2,500% plus, closer to 3,000% plus growth in MRR today, from January to today. Just because I got the feedback, customers said we'd like this and this and this. We implemented this and this and this. We're now on our third iteration, and the market is lapping it up. They love it. It's super useful. I have teachers and podcasters saying, oh my God, I have all of this content. I wanted to use it for, making study guides, et cetera. Your tool helps me do that. Great, glad to help. Not what I designed it for, but that's what the market is using it for. So again, collaborate, stop sitting on it, and execute. Why? We got two fundamental problem statements, and they interact with each other. Problem number one, and the slides are absolutely going to be available. They're already shared. You'll get them. I'll also share notes from the talk itself. But either way, the footnote is on the slide so you can get the rest of the data. This comes from Barna and Glue's analysis. JP actually referenced this as well. Christians disproportionately fear AI compared to other demographics. That is a huge problem. Christians don't trust AI. Christians don't want their church to use AI. Christians would be disappointed if they found out their churches were using AI. Now, I work in cybersecurity. That's my day job. And in cybersecurity, you don't find that. In corporate America, they are excited to jump all over AI. Maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, before the existence of ChatGPT, corporate America was all over. If you went to the big conferences, the RSAs, the Black Hats, the DEF CONs, everyone was talking AI. AI was the buzzword of the week, because everyone wanted to say, we're going to solve every problem with AI, while we're out here being intimidated of it. And look, I go to a church in a very progressive area. Upper middle class people predominantly, routine to see Tesla trucks in my church parking lot in Texas. Like, it's not an unusual thing at all. And it's kind of a mega church-esque vibe, so probably 14,000 people show up, over all the services on a weekend. I'm saying, these are upwardly mobile people, doctors, PhD, lawyers, etc. I had several of them come to me after service 2-3 weeks ago, said, listen, I believe this AI thing you're working on is demon-possessed. I'm not exaggerating. Like that's not hyperbole and it's not a joke. I had to sit the person down and explain to him, listen, let's have a conversation. And I had to start dispelling that myth that the tech could be potentially demon-possessed, to explain them the value that we can get out of it. It is our job to dispel those myths, amongst other things. But why? What makes this problem that Christians disproportionately fear AI, what makes that even more problematic? What makes it even more problematic is this statistic here. The generation that is most at risk of leaving the church and wanting nothing to do with faith-based initiatives, that generation is using AI more than anyone else. They have a propensity to want to use it, and I have a 16-year and a 15-year-old daughter. And their school tells them, use AI to generate this essay that I'm having you write, and your test is going to be defended. The test is no longer show up with a 2-page essay. The test is, we know you generated it with AI. We're going to do an oral defense of it for you. And I love that approach. So they are super comfortable working with AI, while we're out here on the outskirts saying it's evil and it might be demon-possessed, which is why we have to, in this room, needs to urgently engage with the faith-based organizations. You need to urgently volunteer your time. A lot of it is going to be for free. To give less lectures, to speak to Sunday schools, to talk to church leaders. And in my experience, the church leaders are excited to do that. If given the opportunity, churches, big, small, low resource, all of them are excited to engage with this technology. What I'm suggesting, and this is kind of in wrap-up because I'm going to try to be super respectful of time. The Apostle Paul, and everyone's been quoting scripture, so this isn't something I usually get to do. I'm going to lean into the scripture here for a hot second. Again, this is my tribe. I feel very comfortable. I wish I could do this more often. The Apostle Paul described himself as a master builder. I suggest to you, take a step back, that master builder qualification, that gifting he had, suggesting to you it was probably tied to the apostolic. Paul described in 1 Corinthians, I am a master builder because I am building the foundation for someone else to build on top of it. That's what a master builder does. I'm going to suggest to you that's what the apostolic gifting probably enabled Paul to do. I believe it was a spiritual gifting that triggered that ability in Paul to see the big picture at such a high level that the same thing that Dr. K spoke about yesterday, that from Genesis to Acts, there are breadcrumbs, bread trails of, hey, the outreach is going to be to the ends of the world. It's going to be the other nations. So why do you think Paul was constantly harping on, I got to get to Spain, I got to get to Spain? It wasn't for paella. That was the constraints of what they understood to be the known world. So he was executing on the grand picture of it's not just about right here. We got to spread this message throughout everywhere. Paul saw the big picture and was able to break and this is the key right here. Paul was able to see the big picture and through the apostolic gifting, break that into small, digestible chunks that other people could execute on. Welcome to your task. Take this complex, convoluted, technical world that we live in, where we love to do an acronym a minute, and break it up into digestible chunks like an architect would do, and allow the electrician to do just what the electrician needs to do. Look, we don't know where the drywall, we know where the drywall is going to go, but it's not there yet. So in lieu of the drywall being there, me, the architect, I'm going to tell you, this pipe needs to come right here. Can't be an inch to the left, can't be an inch to the right. Why? Trust me, because I know after you're done, something else is coming that's going to block around it, so you got to be exactly right there. That's our job as technologists. I'm going to close on this slide. I very purposely kept my slides low in case the clicker acted the fool, and it didn't. So, yeah. Another, not really Steve Jobs quote, but this comes from funders and founders. Who are the hackers? I believe very firmly many of us here probably identify as hackers. I definitely do. I have pretty much my entire adult life, and probably starting at, and this is in the 70s, mind you, starting at somewhere around 1979, 70, 80, somewhere thereabouts. I saw an ad during the electric company in Sesame Street. I was 9 or 10 years old, and I saw an ad for the VIC-20 computer. And I don't know what it was, but I told my mom and dad, that's it. I have to do that. What is it? I don't know yet, but I know this is in me. I got to do it. And the journey started from there. Many of us have that. What I want you to notice on this graph is there's two forms of hackers. There's two personality traits that come to the forefront and are probably sitting in many of your back pockets right now. One is I have technical skill and ability, and I want to go and do it. Stereotypical textbook hacker. But the other hacker is that I have no technical skill and ability, but I see the big picture. I want to go do it. Collaborate together. Both of those character traits and personalities are valuable for the urgent mission we have at hand to execute. Both of them are required. So my challenge to everyone in the room is find those opportunities. Many of them may not be profitable. When I started in cybersecurity 37 years ago, the worst possible job you could possibly want. No one cared. I'd go to, hey, do cybersecurity. Why? What are you protecting me from? Remember, this was pre-internet. My accountant? I don't need protection from my accountant who's on the same network with me. If he wants to steal money from me, he'll take the checkbook, which he already has. Like, there was literally, but I stuck with it, much to the chagrin of my father, who was like, you're a smart kid, you could be a doctor or a lawyer. Like, we had real heated conversations. I'd like to say that, I was brilliant, so I saw that this was going to be the nonsense. I was stubborn. I liked it, felt like it was in me. I did what I wanted to do because I was passionate about it. 15, 20 years later, after being broke and being an exchange administrator and a Novell network administrator to pay the bills, suddenly cybersecurity took off. And then finally I was like, oh, I understand God. All the time asking God, you need me to quit this and go and be a pastor or a preacher or something like that? Nope, shut up, Greg. Stay where you're at. I have a purpose. Many of us here have that purpose. Collaborate together, let's execute together, and let's be what God has purposed for us to be. My contact information is up there. I got 2 minutes left, so I'm going to be graceful and give that 2 minutes to the next speaker, who probably is going to come up here with an Apple computer, so they'll need as much help as they can get. Thank you.